CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It's used to define how to display the content of an HTML document. How do CSS and HTML work together? HTML is used for markup and defining the content of a document. CSS defines the styles and how to display HTML documents. So let's go ahead and go to the online. We're going to go ahead to our courses to VT 1400. If you're in the 1400 grid, you can click on CSS, and we're going to be covering a number of the tutorials and notes that we have there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this window, and I've got a text wrangler open with a blank window, and we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about CSS syntax. And so when you're writing CSS code, there's a certain syntax to it. There are three elements. The first thing you have is the selector. And this is really the tag or the identifier the CSS rule looks for in the HTML document to apply style to. The next thing you have is the property. The property can include a whole bunch of things. You have properties that involve color, background images, font families, and many other things that you can have an effect on. And then the final element is a value, and the value is oftentimes, say for example, if you have color, you're going to be setting a value to red or some kind of hexadecimal value like #FF0000. So you have selectors, properties, and then values. Couple of things that you want to kind of keep in mind. Your property is always going to be followed by a colon, and your value is always going to be followed by a semicolon. So the cascade looks like this. So you'll have a selector, then some curly brace, and then a property. So in this case, we'll do something like background color or color. So that's yours. So you have a selector, and then property, colon, value, semicolon, curly brace. So that's how you'll do your syntax in CSS. So let's do an example of some syntax that would be familiar with you if we're setting something up. So let's pick one of our selectors. Well, in HTML, body is one of our selectors. We can say body, curly brace, and let's say we want to do a color of red, semicolon, curly brace. So that's how you would write that. And what happens here is then for the body selector, so anything inside the body tags in HTML, your color is going to be that color red. Well, what if we wanted to add other properties and values? Well, we can break this up and do it in a couple of ways. I'm going to go ahead and say not only do we want the color to be a certain color, but we want to say our font family is going to be Verdana, semicolon, and our font size is going to be 12 pixels. So we could set color, font size, and font family in that thing. So you can have multiple properties and values followed by the semicolons. And so in this instance, that is our overall, that's what we've set for the selector, property value, and property value. Now you can do it that way, or you can bring them all up into one line as well. Either way is fine. All right, so there's a great example now of selectors, properties, and values.